Years. Just a couple things about the tanker spill a couple weeks ago. The tanker was never on the loop. The tanker was on Bellaire Boulevard and turning onto the service road. It was a delivery truck that delivers fuel to gasoline stations. So they're kind of all over the place all the time. Apparently, for the load he had, took the corner too quickly. The load shifted, became top heavy, and went over on his side. The big thing that happened there, well, first of all, fuel started leaking out of the tanker, and it was only about 15 feet from the nearest storm drain, the storm inlet, and it started going down the storm drain. So that's what created a difficult situation, because then it was hard to contain, and it spread fairly rapidly. Public Works responded very, very quickly, as the responders did from all over the place. Public Works responded quickly and got sand and soil out there to kind of dam up the leak to slow it down into the storm drain. But the problem was, as long as the truck had fuel in it, it was going to leak and it was going to find its way into the storm drain, which it did. And it leaked for quite some time. They had some difficulty in getting the fuel out of the overturned tanker, and as long as there was fuel in the overturned tanker, it was leaking into the storm drain. The storm drain goes down along the west side of the loop and empties into Cypress Ditch. We immediately got informed the appropriate authorities, got the leak at the outfall contained, and so there was no major pollution into the waterway, and it was contained throughout the thing. But the problem was there were fumes in the storm drain system itself, and they did periodic tests on all the manholes and all the inlets along the west side of the feeder road, the east side feeder road, and the main lanes. And until about 7 something in the evening, they were getting readings of fuel air mixtures that could have set off a bad situation had somebody on the main lanes or feeder roads or anywhere flicked a cigarette and it landed in one of those areas. So the decision on the scene was made, rightfully so, to keep those main lanes and keep those service roads closed for that entire time. And I do want to say that decision, that correct decision, was made under intense pressure to perhaps make a different decision. There was a lot of pressure to open up the loop, and some of that pressure was coming from the office right over here because it was getting a little bit uncomfortable. But rightfully so, the commander on the scene stood his ground and made the proper decisions, and I'm glad to see that. The emergency, if you will, I guess the problem was the people on scene didn't see the real emergency, and that was the traffic backed up for miles and miles in all directions. So I don't know that we perceived an emergency per se, much like the ammonia truck was definitely an emergency. The overturned tanker was a potential emergency, but don't know that we specifically saw it as an emergency, and probably we should have. And I think in retrospect, in some of our discussions afterward, there would have been different types of notifications. We do have an emergency Twitter account, and we did post a message on that Twitter account to the Twitter followers. But we probably could have done more. It was on the TV news stations, because I sat there and watched it for quite some time. It was also on all the TransStar cameras, and you could go on the website and watch those. So I do want to thank Houston Hazmat, and it's good to have them around, and all the responders, and they came from everywhere. Westview, Southside, City of Houston, Metro, I believe Houston ISD was involved, Houston Mobility was involved. Just about every type of responder out there was on the scene at one time or another, and various teams were at various intersections, closing off intersections and rerouting traffic. In a situation like that, where you stop the flow of that many cars that have to get off of the freeway, there was really not a whole lot of choices, especially if you're inside the loop trying to get outside the loop. If you were outside the loop heading west, it wasn't too bad. But anywhere else, it wasn't too good. I do want to thank also Deacon Tittle, who's the commander of the shift. I think he did a marvelous job, and he was the one having to undergo a lot of the pressure from various sources to change his way of thinking, and I'm glad he didn't. Deacon Tittle is an outstanding commander in our force, and I would agree that Chief Anderson did a wonderful job with the media and trying to keep everybody informed. So that was an event that that kept from being elevated into a real emergency by the actions of the people on the scene.
The question I'm curious to know is, I'm sure we're doing an investigation as to the cause and whether any of those costs to the city of Bellaire can be recouped. Obviously, safety is priority one, but for our tax-paying citizens,
Hazardous material spills, those costs are recouped for the cleanup and a lot of the responders, and we're adding those numbers up. We will only claim what it cost us, the city of Bellaire. We will only send a bill to the company for our cost, and that's the cleanup cost and the cost of sitting around and putting the foam blanket down and those types of things, and they're adding those up right now. I don't have the numbers, but the company will get a bill for that, and they know it. But I'm sure they'll also get a bill from the City of Houston Hazmat and some of the other responders as well.
And is that for all the costs associated, at least from Bellaire's?
It's probably not overtime costs for public works employees and stuff like that, but I don't really have those answers right now, but they're adding up those costs.
And the point is we are seeking...
It's a large number. It's going to be a large number.
Okay. And presumably they have insurance coverage for things like this as well. And
And let me just tell you that I'm told from Diane and Daryl both that the company was down there the entire time, and they were very, very concerned about the whole thing, and they understand the ramifications.
All right. Thank you.